All right, it is time for my first goals check-in. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. Last week I shared a video with my 24 goals of 2024, and yes, I do know that it is October, but I also know that it is not too late to make some goals, make some progress, get some stuff done, get some stuff looked at, or whatever your goals tend to, wherever your goals tend to lead you. And and I actually just genuinely had not realized until last week that I hadn't made any goals for the year. So once I did, I decided to make a list, and now I am working my way through it, and I'm going to share with you how things have gone in this first week, where I have made progress, some challenges that I have faced, and also I think I'll try and share my tracker, which is something that is along the lines of things that have helped. So let's take a look at some of the things. I probably won't talk about each of these individual things too long because then it would be an extremely long video. So just sort of, we'll see how things go. I don't know. I haven't done a video like this in a long time. So let's get started and see where it takes us. First up, one of my goals is to watch 21 new to me films by the end of the year, because that will get me to 100 new films seen in 2024. So I did watch one new to me movie, and that is Little Foxes, or The Little Foxes, starring Bette Davis. This I watched with my sister Jamie. This is a drama from 1941, and Bette Davis is one of three siblings. It's her and two brothers. I can't get a great angle on that. That's pretty good. It's her and two brothers, and they're very interested in money and power. And it is sort of like a family drama. So the three siblings plus the people around them, there's lots of tension around different ways, maybe not different ways to get money. There's sort of like one big story arc involving one particular pursuit, shall we say, and sort of like what they're willing to do to each other and to other people to get there. Generally speaking, stories that are about money and power are not a huge draw to me, but in terms of this particular film and the writing, the acting, and the directing and editing were so good. And sometimes even just simply like the lighting. Like when you just have Bette Davis, and she's just amazing. But there were lots of amazing moments in it, even though I would say for me, this is a little bit on the darker side in terms of showing people and how far they're willing to go. But I do feel like it actually is presenting, not necessarily a moral dilemma, but a morality tale, perhaps. And it's way more nuanced than I was going to say expected, but I don't know if I expected that to be. I guess I can sort of discount, this is a better way to say it, I can sort of discount stories on money and power because I'm not that interested in them, but I feel like this one brought a lot of interesting things to light, and it had a lot of great performances and moments to support the story, and I thought it ended up being really great. So that was, and sometimes you just want to watch a classic drama. It doesn't always happen to me, but in terms of watching one, Bette Davis is always a good way to go. So I was really happy to get one film seen. Yay! One of my other challenges is around TV, and that's to watch 5 new to me TV shows, and I managed to watch 2. It is still the fall premiere season, and so there was stuff to choose from, and so I went with 2 game shows, and I watched Scrabble and also Trivial Pursuit, which is hosted by LeVar Burton. These are both on the CW. They are both hour-long game shows that are actually sort of 2 half-hour segments put together, and they are both based on board games. So I thought it was interesting to see how they adapted the board game to the TV game show format. Both of them sort of had 3 rounds that got harder, and at one point they went from more contestants to less contestants. I found Scrabble to be, it went from what felt really easy to quite difficult very quickly. The first round, you get the contestants get a jumbled up word and a clue. So it's basically, I guess, an anagram. Oh, does an anagram have to be a word both times? I think it does. So I don't think it's an anagram. But so they get a jumble of letters and then they get a clue and they have to guess the word. I found those pretty easy. And then in the next round, each of the contestants gets the same rack of letters and there's a Scrabble board and they have to make a word from those letters on the Scrabble board. So that's pretty standard Scrabble. But I found it was, there was something that people did that I didn't even know that you can do in Scrabble, which is instead of just putting words like this, they put words like this. So they actually created a new word and then they created like a bunch of 2-letter words. And a lot of the 2-letter words, I would actually say almost all, if not all of the 2-letter words, I was not familiar with, including the word AR, which is apparently the word for the letter R. And then there was one, AF, which honestly I want to look up because I think we all know what AF means, but that's not a word. That's an acronym, but maybe it's used often enough that it now is a word, but I don't think so. But so anyway, so that got into the land of like hardcore, Scrabble players or like crossword puzzle players who know all of these like really short words that are not necessarily common usage. So anyway, so it was interesting, but it was hard. But I do like stuff about words, and I like stuff about definitions and stuff like that. So, but there was some of that, but not tons of that. So I enjoyed it, but it wasn't a big win. But Trivial Pursuit, I actually enjoyed a fair amount more. They use the 6 categories from the original board game. I'm not going to remember them all off the top of my head. I think there's arts and entertainment. Oh no, it's arts and something else. There's another one that's entertainment, I think. Geography, history, sports, arts and literature, entertainment. And then, there's the 6th one that I can't remember. Anyway, so this one was actually, I thought it was pretty fun. Trivia is one of those things that it can be a lot of fun. And I do like with Trivial Pursuit that they do just generally, like I used to play it when I was a kid and I knew none of the answers because, I was a kid. And some of those categories, anyway, but I thought I thought it was a fair amount of fun. I knew a fair amount of the answers. And I do feel like sometimes with game shows, is that what I like? Do I only like them if I know the answer? I do know the answer to that is no. I also like them if I'm learning something. So if you learn something from the stuff that you don't know, but then you also get the win of like knowing something that you do know, I think that's a good balance. I found that balance a little bit more in Trivial Pursuit than in Scrabble, but I probably will try them both on at least one more time, but over time I think I will stick a little bit more with Trivial Pursuit. It does sort of depend on if anything else is on at that time or if I have anything else going on at that time. So, but I did try 2 out of 5, which is pretty good. I'm really, really thrilled about that. One that I've completed 1 out of 26, which is a lot larger scope, is I did finish a comic or graphic novel for my A to Z Comics and Graphic Novel Challenge, and this is Tomb Raider Season of the Witch. This is written by Gail Simone. I'll leave all of the information about the title down below. So this is a 6-part comic bind up about Lara Croft, obviously. It's after one of the games, and I think I have played the game because I recognize a lot of the things from it. I do like Tomb Raider from the first original release up until I think the one that this is part of. I haven't played all of them, but Lara Croft is a great character, and I did really enjoy this one. There were some things about this that I wasn't a super fan of, because I found like it was a bit weird because she felt quite young, but then it was also like after the events of something else. So I'm kind of like, that's a bit of a weird space to place a character that it's after events, but you're still saying that they're very young. So not that you can't be young and gone through stuff, but it was a weird energy in terms of like seeing her character. Anyway, but I'm thankful that I had played the video game, because otherwise I made spoilers. And I don't think other people are sensitive to that, especially about video games, than I am. But yeah, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it does sort of sound like maybe there is more to this one, but I felt this was a complete story in these 6 comics that were put in this bind up. So I'm happy to leave it there, and that'll be my T for A to Z. So time to pick another comic or graphic novel to read, or comic bind up, as is in the case with that one. In terms of World of Warcraft, I actually did make I made some progress on one of the challenges, and if you're familiar with the game, you probably wouldn't be familiar with this character, because this is not even what I think they look like, but this is Pucelin, and one of the challenges that I have is that I want to do all of the fishing and cooking achievements that are from pre The War Within, which is the new expansion. So one of the cooking one is I need to get to 400 cooking recipes on one character, which I'm surprised they didn't make that account wide. So many things are account wide, but that one's on one character. I'm thankful that most of the cooking and fishing that I have done is on one character. So anyway, so I was at 348 recipes, and I realized I had to go to Dire Mall, like out of all places, which is from Classic, and go find Pucelin. So I did find him, and you have to talk to him, and he's like, "Do you want to play a game?" And he's he's a little like imp demon, and then he runs away from you, and then you have to chase him, and then he runs away from you, and then you have to chase him, and then he gets really upset at you, and and then he runs away from you. And you know, usually how you get stuff in game, if you're not going to buy it from a character, from an NPC, or if they don't just give it to you, you know, you gotta slay them. So there was no more Pucelin, and I have the recipe for Run Tum Tumber Surprise. So I did end up getting 4 recipes. I was only going to work on that one, but then there were a couple of other ones that I ended up finding that weren't too hard. So I got the Run Tum Tumber Surprise, I think that's how you say it, and then I also got, there was one through the Warden's Reputation, which is part of the Legion expansion, and I had worked on that a lot this summer. You needed to get to Revered, which is the 4th out of 5 tiers of the Reputation, and so I'd been doing, and I was at, I think, neutral in the summer, so I really worked on that, and then I just dropped off working on that because there's been a lot of time-sensitive events, and so I just needed to do one more round of World Quest, and I was able to get to Revered, and I bought the recipe for Flacosaur Omelette Surprise or something like that. Oh, it's 1,000 gold. But I got the recipe. My characters are rogue, and there's a weekly quest that you can get 1,600 gold. So they have the gold. It's just like, that's a lot for one recipe. Anyway, so I got that one, and then I found another one in Draenor, Fell Eggs and Ham. That's just a random, there's just this one named mob in this one little house north of Hellfire Citadel in Legion, and he's wearing a chef's hat, and I'm like, I bet that's him. And it was, and so I got Fell Eggs and Ham, so I'm happy about that. And then I did find one. I thought I couldn't get the recipe for Mystery Stew. I thought it was soulbound, but I found an Alliance NPC that sells it, so I bought it on my Alliance character, put it in my war bank, and then learned it on my Horde character, which is the character that I'm getting all the recipes on. So I got 4 recipes. I'm really happy about that. I'm up to 352 out of 400, and I've done the sort of light math, and without the Mystery Stew, which was the big surprise that I was able to get that, because it tried to get it somewhere else at some point, and it was soulbound, and I'm like, what? It's like a really old recipe you used to be able to get from the Kodo caravan, but they changed that with Cataclysm, and I'm like, I just feel like I should be able to get that recipe, and I just looked again, and I was able to find a source for it. So that was really great, but it was an Alliance character, so I'm very thankful for the Warband Bank, because that made it a lot easier. So I got to 352, so I need 48 more recipes, and from light looking at things between Draenor, Legion, Pandaria, and Battle for Azeroth, for those 4 expansions, I think I can get another 48 recipes. When you get beyond that, we're getting into content that I've never done the whole storyline, and they have a lot of sort of like, you have to play the whole storyline first before you can access certain things, or they have things that are, you need certain reputations and stuff like that. With the Warden reputation in Legion, I knew how to do it, and it did take a while, but I knew how to do it. So I would really like to get to 400 without that. There are some other recipes that I'm not willing to do what you need to do to get them. Like, there's 2 that are like 1500 time warp badges, and I'm like, not worth it. And there's 2 that are guild related, and my character's not in a guild, and I don't really want to be in a guild. So, yeah. So anyway, I did manage to get 48 to go. I'm wondering like if that is a little too ambitious by the end of the year, but I think I'll just go expansion by expansion and just work my way through it and see how that goes. I should probably double check, because I think maybe some of the Battle for Azeroth ones are related to world quests, and those are ones that aren't up all the time. So yeah, things are hard, like things get more complicated as the expansions go on, as opposed to you just like go to a vendor. Like the 2 ones I got from Classic, you just go to a vendor and buy the recipe, you go and find the mob inside dungeon. I had to talk to him 4 times before I could attack him, but then eventually it wasn't that hard. But the Warden's reputation, that took me, I mean, I don't even know, like it took, I don't know, I didn't track it, but it took, I don't know, at least 12 days of questing with the particular world quest emissary up. So that's just not something I can just sit and decide, okay, I'm going to finish it this week. So as the expansions get on, things get more complicated, and also I'm less familiar with them. So anyway, but 4 more done. So, and that's, I have like, for World of Warcraft, I have like, I think 12 things that I want to do. So I made progress on 1 of the 12 things, which is still progress. All progress counts. I also melted one of the wax melts for I bought a wax melter and 8 different wax melts, and I tried the coconut and vanilla one. I did really like it. It's actually quite mild, and it does smell like cocoa butter, and I really like that. And so that was really nice. And it was, I spent one night, I guess I'll jump to this one, because I also tried it on I tried it while I was doing some journaling, and I did work on one of my film journals, and I worked on it 2 different days, and I think I got 6 different films pages, did a bit of a write-up on them. So that's really, write-up, that's not the right word. It's weird because it's not like they're reviews or anything, but it's just like, thoughts about the film, and these are films that I've watched. I should have brought the journal here. Anyway, but 2 times I got to the page to work on them, and I wrote about 6 of them. And I did decide to do a video, so there will be a journal with me video that will go up. I think I'll put it up on the weekend, maybe on Sunday. So if you'd like to spend some journal time together, that will be there for you when it is released. And it was really great to do it. So I'm really happy that I did that, and doing the video really helped me get to the page. So I feel like that would be something good to do in the future as well. So I also timed out 2 of the recipes. I think this is one of my stranger things that I decided to pick, was that I want to have no, it's not strange, I don't know. Anyway, one of the goals that I picked was to have the recipes that I do sort of more frequently, to have them timed out, how long it takes to make them. I started this off in a bit of a strange way with a recipe that I have not made for years, but I just, as happenstance happened, I had a lot of extra Brussels sprouts. So I decided to make it, and I actually decided to make coleslaw, and this is, which is made with cabbage, but you can also make it with Brussels sprouts. So that's what I did. It actually took me an extremely long time to chop all of the Brussels sprouts, in one sense because they're Brussels sprouts, so they're smaller, and then so you have to take off the outer layers and all that kind of stuff. So it actually took me like an hour to do all of the chopping. No wonder I'm getting frustrated with how long some cooking things takes. An hour. Now, that is not unusual. If you're doing something like a whole bunch of roasted vegetables or veggies and dip or something like that, chopping takes a long time. It takes a long time, but it took an hour to chop the Brussels sprouts and the onion and the carrots. Like, that was crazy. And then doing the actual solution, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but the dressing, I guess, is just oil, vinegar, sugar, and salt. And you boil it and you pour it on top of the cabbage, and that is how the magic happens. You have to wilt the cabbage with the boiled vinegar and oil. Now, I think I should have let it boil just like 1 or 2 seconds longer, and then it would have been a bit more wilted. The flavor is great, but I just needed to boil it a little longer. But I mean, boiling oil on the stove, I'm going to choose safety first. So I took it off just like a little bit sooner. I think I should have I think it might have been better maybe to do it in a really big pot. But you need to pour it over. That is the whole thing. You have to pour it over all of the chopped cabbage. Or Brussels sprouts in this situation. Anyway, so it took me an hour and 50 minutes overall. And that feels like a long time for making coleslaw. I mean, I don't know. I also did time out another recipe. What was the other recipe? There's a salad I do. I got the recipe. Oh, the coleslaw salad is from my mom. And she was very, very, very felt strongly about coleslaw. And anytime we went anywhere where the coleslaw was not made in this particular fashion, where you wilt the cabbage first, she would let them know that that's not how you make coleslaw. And it was a little embarrassing. It's like people are allowed to make things in different ways. Not like in someone's home. I don't think she would do that there. But like we went to a restaurant, she's like, they didn't wilt the cabbage, and I'm like, okay, mom. But it is better. Like I'm not gonna say it isn't better. That's how I like it, and it's the flavor. I mean, it's like 7 ingredients, right? Like cabbage, carrots, onion, oil, vinegar, salt, sugar. That's it. That's it. And it's just like, I think there's just some flavors that just take you right back. And that is one that really does it for me. So I have a fair amount of coleslaw because I had a fair amount of Brussels sprouts. But at least it'll last a little bit longer now that it's coleslaw. So anyway, so that was really good. And I'm really happy to have made that. And actually thinking about this challenge just generally with the recipes, there's definitely more than I thought. I initially came up with 5 or 6 that I thought these are the recipes that I use, but there's definitely more. The other one that I did was one that was a salad recipe that I got from my sister Jamie, and it's couscous, chicken, lentils, hummus, cilantro, sunflower seeds, and balsamic vinaigrette. It's a great salad. I usually, because that's a fair amount of protein, I tend to also do it like on lettuce and then add a vegetable. Like I had celery, so I added celery for crunch because I didn't think I had the sunflower seeds. So I added celery, and then I found the sunflower seeds. Pumpkin seeds work too. Also, it's nice with some tzatziki as well. So anyway, that ended up being a lot less time than doing the coleslaw, but it still was half an hour to do the prep. So I was a little surprised at that. I had already cleaned the cilantro and the lettuce. So it was really just making the couscous, chopping the chicken, the lentils I had in the freezer, so I had to rinse those out. And so it was just sort of like, it didn't feel like, and then, I did do the celery. But the cilantro, I still had to, it was not great. It was just not, needed a little attention to make sure got just the good parts, because some of it was just a little rough. Although it was a very good price. So, so it ended up being half an hour to make it, and then 15 minutes of cleanup, which I think is normal. I don't know. I usually after dinner, I just make a tea, do the dishes, put away the leftovers, and I think it's always, like, unless I'm making something really robust, I think it's always about 15 minutes. I don't know. I'll try again on another day and see if that's true. It's probably shorter if I'm just having leftovers. So even that felt like a lot, like half an hour and then 15 minutes. But the 15 minutes is always going to be there, so I'm not too worried about that. But I don't know. Does half an hour feel like a long time for just doing a sort of chop prep salad? I don't know. With most of that stuff, like already taken care of. Like, I had cooked chicken, I just had to chop it up, so I don't know. Is chopping the problem? I'm seeing a theme here. Anyway, I mean, they're all recipes you chop something pretty much, you know, pretty much, except for, I guess, maybe crock pot, but even then, there's at least a few things you chop in half probably. Anyway, I timed out 2 recipes. I think that's good. This is one challenge that might be a little strange because it might end up being, it might end up growing. So instead of having 6 things and then be done, I might have more than 6 things. So anyway, another thing that I have been working on is Duolingo. Yes, our little owl friend. Is it an owl? Is it a bird? Birds are owls, right? So not sure. Anyway, so I have been working on Duolingo. I misquoted in my introduction video. I thought I was at 170 days. I am not, because I only recently hit 150 days some point this week. So I have been working on that consistently. I still have to do it today. Yeah, I feel pretty I feel like it's a pretty established habit. I think I've been doing it for 150 days, so I think that is the case. Some days if I'm up late, well, all days I'm up late, but like some days if I know the next day is really busy, I try and do it after midnight so I don't feel like I have to do it the next day. But usually if I'm in a real rush, I'll just like scroll to the beginning and do one of the intro lessons. Just like get a practice in and then have to not be worried about it. But I am at a stage where I hit a new level, and so they're adding in some new words. Fork, I can't remember what it was actually, so that's not very helpful. But fork, spoon hasn't entered the picture yet. Knife was there. I think knife is knife. I think it's KNIF. I'm learning Danish. And some of the food ones I know already because some of the food ones were, you know, earlier in terms of eating and drinking, and apples and bread and milk and water and soda water. That one's easy to remember because you just add the water, but it's also not so easy because in Canada, we don't say soda, we say pop. Anyway, so that is worked there. The other thing, and this one is super happy, and I'm actually I need to move on. I have to wrap this up quickly, so I might not get to everything. But the last thing in terms of I want to talk about in terms of challenges and stuff like that. But I do want to say one thing that happened, and this was really amazing because I did not expect this to get maybe even done at all, and nowhere near as easily and as quickly as it did. And this, I'm glad I put this one open-ended. One of the challenges I set to myself was to try OBS or another screen capture software to be able to film direct to my computer and then be able to share that, you know, as a video if I wanted to share something like that. So not only did I figure that out so easily and so randomly by like a video that was in my video feed is like you might be interested in, which was also something that was on my watch later from like I think a year ago, which was like a bunch of Windows shortcuts you may not know that you want to know. That's not how it's worded. I will link it up above and down below for you to check out because it's got a whole bunch of great things. Like if you need a special character, like if I was writing in Danish and I needed one of the accents or one of the like A's and E's that are together, I don't know what they're called, you hit Windows period and it brings up a menu of emoticons and special characters. Who knew? Who knew? Anyway, but if you want a screen capture, if you want to record your screen and you're on a Windows machine, you press Windows G and it brings up a gaming interface that you can record your screen. Now it only records the program that you press Windows G in, because I tried this. I tried it in Excel and I tried to like do Excel and like Goodreads at the same time if I was like cleaning up a Goodreads list or something like that, and you could only see the Excel. Now I didn't try it if I had both of them open at the same time. That might have worked, but I did try it also for gaming to see if I could do, because if I wanted to maybe like insert gaming footage of if I got an achievement or something like that. And not only that, I actually also figured out, and hopefully I can do it here, but I also figured out how to insert that into another video in the video software that I'm using, just because I needed a video software to do one simple thing for all of my videos. I couldn't believe it. I thought this would take ages. I thought this would be extremely hard and frustrating and hair pulling. Now, there's a lot of things that aren't perfect, like the only being able to record one, like it doesn't record if in a different program. So you have to be in the program you want. Windows G, very basic interface. There's like a record button. There's also a mic on, mic off button. You can move that button before you hit record, but once you hit record, it's there. It doesn't show up on the recording, but it is there. And then it just saves it to your computer. And I'm like, I had no idea. So that was extraordinary, and I was so happy that I found that and that I had bookmarked that video. Now, it does make me think someone is listening, because that was a little weird that it was so specific, something I wanted to figure out, and then it just showed up. But, it ended up being a good result for me in the end. In terms of, I'm just going to briefly talk about some of the things that have helped, and maybe I'll leave the challenges for later. Well, I will just say one of the challenges that I am having is that some of the things that I picked, I won't be like done until like the last day of the year. And like in terms of like having my journals like up to date, like until I write an entry for December 31st, that is not something that can be true. And that's not great. It's a fine, but for me, I've noticed I don't like those kinds of goals because I can't check them off until the very end of the year. And I like to be done a little bit earlier than that. So I kind of goofed because several things, like even my playlist for the year, I can't finish. I don't want to de-incentivize myself from adding songs to my playlist because then I have to update a list somewhere. I also have no idea where to put, like I want to write out my playlist from the year. I have no idea where to put that. And now I'm kind of stuck on that one. Anyway, less stuck on. One of the things I did is I did create a whole section in my current datebook, day timer thing for, just writing out, haven't actually done it, but like writing out, like, these are the A to Z novels, and here's the TV shows, and, I want to draw my 15 plants, and I name them. They don't have real names. One of them has a real name, but it's like large turtle shells, small turtle shells. Like, I know what that is. I just need to know that I've done that. But also, the thing that I did that I think is the most helpful is I did do this grid, which has all of the goals listed. And then my current status, the total, like what I'm aiming for, the actual goal. Okay, so like for films, I've seen one and my goal is 21. And then this has all of the weeks left in the rest of the year, which is, either a lot or a little, depending on how you look at it. 10 weeks is like a lot, but also not. Like it's like 2.5 months. That's like a quarter of the year, but 10 weeks is only a fifth of the year. So my brain is working on that math. Anyway, so what I also did is I put each of the weeks has a column, and if I worked on it in the week, I put a dot with a dot marker. And then if I finish anything, like if I completely finish anything, I'll put a star. So that's a sort of system that I've used for a lot of different things over the years. But I think this will be good. I apologize, it's not super, super clear. But I think this will help keep me on track with what I've been working on over time. It'll also, like, as I fill it out, I will start to see the patterns of like what I've worked on and what I haven't worked on. And I know for myself that when I get close to finishing a goal, I will focus on that. So I'm not worried about that. I'll be a little bit more worried on if it's been like 5 weeks and some things have gotten zero attention. That can happen, but it's good information that I can put to use and get some emphasis and maybe figure out why haven't I gotten to that. But for today, I'm just thrilled that I got to all of these different things. I think it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 different things out of 24 ended up getting some attention this week, and I'm really thrilled about that. Yeah, so hopefully this was fun to watch. I know it's kind of chatty, rambly, but hopefully it was fun to watch, and I will put that update, or not that update, the journal with me video up on the weekend, I think probably on Sunday, so there is something to look forward to there, and I'm going to continue to look at new ideas for things I can do to support this. Actually, I guess I also did that. I did some brainstorming and did some work on things that will support the challenge, because I think doing update videos definitely helps me to do that, and I always love to share, and maybe it will provide some helpful information in terms of working on your goals. I would love to hear what you're working on, if you have any goals for the end of the year, if you made any progress on them this week, or what you're looking forward to working on next week. I would love to hear all about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon in another video.